They are not afraid to lie, cheat, steal, and kill, and it's just all part of the fun Fae world. What's up, book nerds? I'm Lucky's Universe, and in this week's video, we will be discussing everyone's favorite character type, the morally grey character. A few people probably sprung to mind just now: Rhysand from ACOTAR, Cardan from The Cruel Prince, but wait. Are our favorite fictional boys actually morally grey? Or do we just think that they are? Now, before we get up in arms, I want to make clear that I am by no means a literary expert. I have a writing degree, but all that granted me was the knowledge of where to correctly place a semicolon. I'm a seasoned reader and a semi-competent writer, but deep down this is all purely subjective, and this video is just a bit of fun, so let's push on, shall we? So, what am I actually prattling on about? The issue on the table is this: what is morally grey? What does the term mean, and are we using it correctly, or, like the infamous love triangle, have we just adapted the term to mean something different but similar? Many of us in the book community use the term love triangle to refer to a character who is romantically linked to two other characters. But actually, we know this to be a love V and not a true triangle where character A would be linked to character B, who would be linked to character C, who would be linked to character A, or if character A was in love with B and C were in love with each other. Yep, I don't know, it kind of just sounds like a typical episode of Grey's Anatomy.
So pick me. Choose me.
Love me.
But you get what I'm saying, right? We generally accept the word love triangle to mean love V. So are we doing the same thing with the term morally grey? Let's get into it. First, we need to hammer out some details. What is morally grey? What is the definition? Well, as hard as I may have searched, I couldn't actually find anything regarding the true origins of the term, but it's generally used to refer to fictional characters of both books and film. If a character is morally grey, it means that they toe the line between good and evil, never quite tipping the scales either way, leaving readers unable to identify them as wholly good or wholly bad. If you're a D&D person or familiar with character alignment, I think morally grey would sort of be akin to chaotic good or chaotic neutral, but character alignment is like a different thing, so let's just leave it at that. So you have your scale of main character trying to save the world and villain trying to destroy the world. Your morally grey character should fall somewhere in the middle, ideally. Now here's the kicker where I think a lot of us get confused. The base on which a morally grey character stands is ambiguity. They need to keep readers guessing as to their next move, as to their true morals and values. As soon as a character reveals their true intentions, it's going to move them in the way of either good or bad, and they'll no longer be in the grey. For example, say you have a character who has murdered someone, and in this fictional world, murder is morally wrong. I mean, in reality, murder is usually morally wrong, but in some fictional worlds, it's the done thing. But let's just say in this fictional world, it's morally wrong. So straight off the bat, this character must be evil, right? They committed a crime. They murdered someone. But what if they did that to protect someone else, like a family member or a loved one? So if they didn't commit this crime, someone they loved would get hurt. In short, they broke the reader's moral code in which murder is wrong, but they also align with the reader's moral code, or what we assume most readers' moral code would be, and that is to try and protect and save everyone. So they did something that's bad, but they also did something that's good. So are they good or bad? Thus we arrive at grey morality. Is this making sense? I feel like I'm just saying words. I hope that made sense. Moving on. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of why we have morally grey characters in the first place. For a book to be successful, readers have to like characters, relate to them, and root for them. Assuming the average reader hasn't committed the heinous crimes that our favorite fictional characters have, why on earth would we like a character who is hell-bent on breaking down our carefully constructed moral codes? Why don't we always align with the good guys who are always doing good and who always win? Because let's face it, with the rising YA popularity and book talk, morally grey characters are trending. We eat that shit up. The stereotypical good guy is commonly labelled as vanilla, and readers are clamouring for more grey morality. This partly comes down to the psychology of being attracted to the bad boy. A really long time ago, I made a video on a similar topic where we discovered that people, typically women, are attracted to men who break the rules because from a young age we are taught to always obey the rules and to fit into society's very strict standards for women. Women shouldn't be loud, women shouldn't take up too much space, women shouldn't behave in wild manners. Hence, when we are older, bad boys who display all of those behaviors provide us with a sense of freedom that we never had growing up. You can actually research all of this yourself, it's very interesting.
I'm gonna be a bad boy. I'm gonna be a bad boy. I'm gonna be a bad boy.
Another reason why morally grey characters are so popular is because they provide variety to a story. When you follow a traditional storyline of good versus evil, it's pretty clear who's going to come out on top. On the one hand, this makes stories comforting and relaxing and nostalgic, but on the other hand, it can sometimes get pretty boring. Introducing a character who declares for neither good nor evil keeps readers guessing as to what is their next move, whether they'll switch everything up, turn the tables, be the decider in the conclusion, whether they'll get their happy ending. However, there is a line, and this part is more for writers than readers, because you want your character to be a rule breaker, right? You want readers to question their own moral codes. Sweet. But there is a line that when crossed can take your morally grey lover boy down to the level of straight up douchebaggery. If you push a reader's boundaries too far, you can risk them straight up hating the character, or making your character like not morally grey and just plain evil. For instance, there are some crimes that are just considered by society to be unforgivable, whether they're in the fictional world or not, and this gets discussed a lot more in high fantasy circles that tend to be more explicit. A popular point of contention is Jaime Lannister from the Game of Thrones book series. Along with his garden variety crimes, there's also the incest. The dude was fucking his sister.
The things I do for love.
Throughout the story, he redeems his character by committing just enough good deeds to outweigh his bad deeds. But from a personal standpoint, I just really can't get past the incest. That's my line that a character cannot cross. So even though Jaime Lannister is praised for his moral greyness, I put him in the straight up evil category. Like, he's not morally grey, he's just a bad dude. But also that is a subjective opinion. When you read the books and you watch the TV shows, like, you can definitely come up with your own opinion on this. So yeah, just want to highlight, like, this is me coming from a personal standpoint. Speaking of Jaime Lannister, let's look at some other examples of morally grey characters and how they fit in with what we've discussed so far. Starting off with everyone's favorite Batboy, Rhysand from the Court of Thorns and Roses series. Book 1, crimes, murder, sexual assault, drugging women, general dickishness. He also served the evil queen Amarantha, who cursed and killed a bunch of people, so not ideal. But as we move through the series, it is revealed that all of his evil acts were done to protect his family, his loved ones, his city, and the main character, which is why we generally regard him as being a morally grey character. Honestly, don't really know how I feel about Rhysand, because I draw the line at lack of consent, and in the first book, Rhysand was just like, consent? Never met him. Even though Feyre technically agreed to their deal, it was either that or die. So was it really a choice? Was it? Rhysand. Jeez, for someone who hates Rhysand, I really do talk about him a lot. SJM fans have infiltrated my subconscious thought. Moving on to one of my favorite morally grey characters, Cardan Greenbrier, and for good measure, Jude Duarte. They are not afraid to lie, cheat, steal, and kill, and it's just all part of the fun Fae world. For Jude, I think the fact that she is the main character of the Cruel Prince series means that readers root for her and forgive her misdeeds more easily. Our understanding of the Fae and the Fae world means things like lying and cheating and killing. It's more accepted in that world, so it doesn't necessarily make her a bad person, you know, by Fae standards. Because we're inside her head for this story, we know that Jude is only committing all of these crimes, not just to further her own ambitions, but to protect and serve her family. So that's why she's morally grey. For Cardan, I think his love of Jude is what redeems him. He seems like a pretty awful and just straight up horrible guy at first. But then readers learn about his traumatic childhood and a bit more about his family and the world that he lives in, which garners sympathy and makes us a bit more forgiving. And we learn that a lot of his quote-unquote criminal behavior is done out of self-preservation, learned behavior, or in service of those that he loves. To summarize, the term morally grey has a lot more to it than we probably originally thought. There's a lot that goes into creating a truly morally grey character, and it's proven to be very subjective. Although I love me a morally grey bad boy, I think it's also important not to discourage writers from writing traditional good guys. I often find myself drawn to like the blonde hair, the strict moral code, the knowledge that they will always prevail. I hate when readers get attacked for liking vanilla characters, or when writers get attacked for writing vanilla characters, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Vanilla is a great flavor, it's not boring, and it's the standard for a reason. I hope this video has illuminated the topic of morally grey characters a little bit more and hasn't just been a really confusing and pointless video. If you sat through the entire video, congratulations, you don't get a prize. If you don't already follow me on TikTok, go check that out. I post some pretty cool stuff on there. I will also leave a link to my Goodreads account and my Instagram account down below so you can keep up with what I'm reading. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you later. Readers are clamoring for more grey moral characters. Morally grey, more grey morality. Get it right.